It's time for Team Venom to cross the line.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Talking TNA with me, your host Rory Bailey. I'm going to be joined in a minute by my co-host Thomas Franks, and here's what we've got planned. So we're going to be talking about our Mount Rushmore, which is the four greatest competitors for the X Division on this week's show. And then following that, we're going to have a very special guest by way of WWE Hall of Famer, former X Division, TNA X Division champion, X-Pac. So enjoy. Firstly, Connor, man, how the devil are you? Happy New Year and all that.
Good, man. Thank you.
Did we say Happy New Year on the last one? We have.
I don't know.
A lot.
I don't know.
I'm
life's been busy, man. you had the
stuff.
The talk with Simon last week,
which is very good.
I wasn't available. Poorly. Shit happens. Life's a lot. I have a baby due in like 6 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Not me personally. This is just Christmas work. That what shift. So yeah, that's life right now. But we're here and we are talking TNA.
Indeed. And on this week's one, we're going to have the first of many of these types of chats where, for the benefit of the listeners and viewers and such, we don't tend to cover. We don't want to be covering modern stuff all the time. I know we spoke about the rebrand. We spoke about Hard to Kill on the run up to it. And we've spoken to people from TNA about modern stuff. But the main purpose of the podcast is for us to talk about the stuff that we love about TNA in general, going across the last 20 years. And this episode is going to be one that is a highlight of that. Obviously, Hard to Kill happened last weekend. It was a decent show. I quite enjoyed it. I thought Nick Nemeth was a good surprise, a good addition to the TNA roster, but I was a bit deflated by all the hype that said that it was one of the biggest names in TNA history signing. I think the hype
was
didn't work.
Yeah.
But Nick Nemeth is a great addition to any roster.
In the long run, it'll work out well, and it'll no doubt be. There's very, very high chance that a few years from now we'll be considering it as one of the best signings.
We'll be doing it on one of these episodes.
Yeah, but as of right now, to the hype that they did for it is just very, especially because he'd already made an appearance in Japan.
Yeah, like a few days before. So
so I feel like it would.
If he hadn't done the Japan thing,
if we hadn't have seen him at all, it would have been like, oh shit, But no, it's like, no, okay, so because now like he may have, our new signing, but because of that, it kind of looks like it's one of those pre-job tours, that a lot of wrestlers do, and it's a bit. But I'll happily eat my words if it turns around. Yeah,
and to be fair, Moose versus Nemeth, I think would be a really good matchup. So, I'm all for it for the short term. But yeah. Anyway, this week's subject is going to be our Mount Rushmore of the X Division, because we've seen lots of wrestling sites, lots of interviews and stuff where people are offering their Mount Rushmore of all-time best wrestlers and such, and we figured we're going to start doing that for ourselves about specific divisions in TNA history. And it ties in with Hard to Kill because I'm pretty sure we're both going to mention the current TNA X Division champion, because why wouldn't we?
Exactly. And I think we can knock out both of ours in one go, because I think we've both got Chris Sabin on our Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. So that's wonderful.
It's hard not to. Current X Division champion again.
10-time X Division champion.
Yeah, and there's a solid argument for future episodes when we're talking about the tag titles or the world title that you could put Chris Sabin in either of those.
Yep.
Because this isn't even just about the champions, really. It's about the divisions.
Yeah.
So it's,
And if we were talking TNA Sabin, originals that we think should end up in the Hall of Fame, Sabin would be in there as well. And
100%. Yeah. It's
An easy pick.
It's a very easy pick, yeah, which is why we got a tick one for both of us there on it for Saban, because he's one of those people that we could literally do an entire show on talking about.
You know, I know there's a lot of times where we have very different views when we've talked about other wrestling companies and when we've been previewing things on other podcasts and stuff like that. I do think, in hindsight, now that we've got onto this subject is probably going to be very even, very one-sided. I think we've both got very similar tastes in terms of the people that we'd throw in the top tiers of the X division. So I think this is probably going to be
we probably will.
one of the least conflicting episodes we have.
Here's the thing for my Mount Rushmore, I've done like two who are just like staples of the X division, like history, and who undoubtedly in any conversation would be on there. Yeah. And then I've done two which you could argue should be on there if you're, blah blah blah. But I've gone for my enjoyment and seeing them in that division.
Okay.
And because I figured that would be the best way to do it, to stop it just being I think him, me too. Well, I think him,
which is very which could be how it goes.
So, yeah, exactly. So I did it that way just for a bit of difference.
Okay. So who are you going to go for your number 2 pick?
For my number 2, I am gonna go with
Robbie X. Not Robbie X. What's his name? Robbie E. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Robbie E.
Sorry. I just ruined it. I'm sorry.
Although that would be a perfect signing for TNA.
Yeah, I know. Robbie X is great.
As in, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring back Johnny Impact, let him be the X Division champion, and then have Robbie X versus Johnny X.
Yeah,
money.
Done. Right. Anyway.
No, sorry. My second pick, I will go for Petey Williams.
Ah.
I will not go for Petey Williams. I will not go for Petey Williams.
You just said Petey Williams.
I will go for...
No, it's fine. You can say about Petey Williams.
You sure?
The thing is, it's our Mount Rushmore. And if it is the same, that's still great because it's the collective Mount Rushmore that we've come with. Petey Williams, 100%. He's one of the best of all times. And the amount of classic X Division matches that he was in, and the fact that he was more than prepared to go from being a featured guy in the X Division to a mini Scott Steiner for a spell, as well as Little Petey Pup, which was also awesome.
Maple Leaf Muscle, what a man!
Yeah, he was amazing. And the thing of how protected the Canadian Destroyer was for years until other companies decided that it was going to become a transitional move because reasons and stuff when you see the other companies, and I can say the name because it's our podcast. It doesn't matter, does it? So I remember I watched a clip on YouTube and it was Orange Cassidy and Pentagon, I think, in AEW, and they were just a loop of Canadian Destroyers. And I can see why some people like those sorts of programs because of the high spots repeatedly and stuff. I'm very much an old school wrestling fan in the sense that I believe that finishes should be protected. And the Canadian Destroyer was protected so well. And Petey Williams invented that move. But I think the first time that someone kicked out of it was Eli Drake when it was a world title challenge. And the fact that was the first time, like a good decade into Petey's career with Impact, with TNA, is awesome. That's really good, and that's that's what I like about certain moves where you protect it. And that move in of itself, if you were doing a Hall of Fame of wrestling moves in TNA, Canadian Destroyer's up there. And Petey Williams he's just great, and the stuff he's doing for other companies now as a producer. There was a distinct turning point in another company where the main event was really good on a weekly show. And it turned out that Petey Williams was the producer for the match. It makes sense. Yeah, I agree. Petey Williams, yes.
Okay, you can say the next one.
Well, I just talked all about Petey Williams, man. So you do your number 3, and I'll try and shut up.
Yeah, but it's
It's literally the point of the podcast, isn't it? The thing of we're talking about the shit that we love, that it's great.
I'm gonna go with Amazing Red.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
not
putting him on mine, but only just. He would be, if I was doing a top 10, he'd be about 5 or 6.
well. The thing is, if we were doing the champions, he wouldn't be on here.
Yeah. But for the division, he was great. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Then this is about the whole
Yeah.
division. So that's why I'm putting him on there because, during the early to late 2000s, if there was a main X division match or contention match to go to, he was always in that shuffle. He was always higher up in the shuffle. Um, the dude's ability, like, fucking just entirely his entire moveset and his ability just translates to the X division perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Granted, him being in the X division did also make us deal with Crimson, but
Yeah, Crimson.
he can wrestle. No, Amazing Red, man. He is and was so good. I've seen plenty of his stuff in Impact and then like House of Glory, stuff like that. No matter where he goes, what he's doing, he is one of the best to have natural wrestling ability.
Yeah.
Just pure fearlessness as well, man. For the X division, like the Ultimate X matches, how how many injuries we've seen from simple things in those, and then we would just see him do something absolutely ridiculous and be able to walk away from it. He's just the most naturally gifted person I think we've ever seen in the X division in terms of what he can do in the ring.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You make a very, very strong argument for why he would be on our collective Mount Rushmore. But for my number 3 pick, because I suspect our number 4 pick is going to be the same, and a very phenomenal pick for that. So for my number 3 pick, I'm going to go for one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. In fact, I'm also going to queue up an interview with him at the end of this, which wasn't done for TNA, but was just in general. But one of my all-time favorite wrestlers is Sean Waltman, X-Pac. And X-Pac was at the time was Six-Pac. He was calling himself because of the copyright names and stuff. He was one of the first few wrestling big names to jump from elsewhere to TNA and go into the X division. One of the first big names of the X division, and because I was watching TNA from the early days, that's one of the names that made me want to watch TNA. I was like, oh, X-Pac's there, and so yeah, I think for bringing attention to the division at an early stage, I think he needs to be on it, and he's a former champion as well. He's always been an incredibly underrated worker. There was a thing in the 90s in the WWF where people knew that you were a good wrestler if you could have a good match with X-Pac. If you had a bad match with him, then you're just not worth putting on a card. And
yeah,
I think he did a lot in the early days of TNA to help the division by default, because when you have someone of his level on the show, everyone wants to be better by default. And in the early days of TNA, the X division was all about pushing the whole no limits thing and the whole thing of stealing the show from the larger guys towards the top end of the card. And having someone like X-Pac there, he was like the 90s blueprint for that. So yeah, I think it goes on there for the importance in my, at least on my side of things. So
I agree completely. I mean, the dude was one of the pioneers of what would grow to be the X division style of wrestling in the early 90s, 1, 2, 3 kid.
yeah.
His size, obviously, early 90s as well, in what was then WWE. He was very much the underdog, being thrown around by everyone. Obviously, 1, 2, 3 kid, that classic top rope roll up win against Razor. So even going into the light heavyweight division of WWE at the time, he was the main guy for that as well. So he completely fits the X division mold because, again,
I think he was also the last light heavyweight champion in WWE as well, wasn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah. Because then they replaced it with the cruiserweight title because he left while he was champion.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Okay, my final pick, because I knew you were going to go phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. You're going to go with
I
someone
have.
else. Ah, but then
No,
like
but
the argument is that the phenomenal ones should be. Oh, but then again,
I've gone for someone, which is why I smiled when you said it, X-Pac, Sean Waltman, purely because the reasons you've said him as being a pioneer
is
into that
why you've gone for this guy.
is why I've gone for Jerry Lynn.
Nice. Yes.
Be
For the exact
be
same
for
reasons.
the
Okay.
exact
Yeah. Yeah.
same
Yeah.
reasons. Smaller stages, I'd give you ECW, granted, not really the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Short, small stints elsewhere, but like he was in he was in he started in the X division, like when the X division started.
Yeah.
Jerry Lynn is one of those guys as well. If you can't have a good match with Jerry Lynn, you
Yeah.
don't wrestle. That's the thing. Jerry Lynn can get a good match out of a fucking potato sack. So that's why I smiled when you said X-Pac, because it's your
It's the
argument for
same. Yeah. Yeah.
X-Pac. Change the name Sean Waltman to Jerry Lynn, and it's there.
Yeah. No. You know what? I agree. In fact, yeah, I'm going to agree. It could be my number 4 pick as well. So I'll throw out AJ Styles as an honourable mention, as well as guys like Kazarian and Alex Shelley and others and such. But
Joe,
yeah, but
Joe
AJ Styles is,
Daniels,
yeah,
Jay
totally.
Lethal, Sonjay Dutt, Kid Cash. We can keep going.
Rob Van Dam at one point as well, which was, but that
Very
was
true.
toward, yeah. Um, but no, why I was going to say AJ Styles and stuff was because of what he did for the whole company. But I figure if we're going to do Mount Rushmores for each division, his name could come up in virtually every division, apart from the knockouts,
I
obviously.
think a good way to do it will be the Rushmore for each division, and then a company around Rushmore.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll try and do it so that we don't duplicate names if
Yeah,
we can help it. So AJ will be on the
yeah,
company Mount Rushmore, and yeah, so
yeah.
honourable mention here. So much like when we get to the doing one for the world title, I'm going to have to try and not say Kurt Angle because of the company wide stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I get that.
but yeah,
Well,
so
exactly.
uh,
Kurt came in and won every title. How can he just be on one division?
well, that's true. Joe and Angle both did that, and Bobby Lashley as well at one point.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. See, this is the nice thing about this podcast is that we could just be like, yes, I remember when that happened, and so did such, and so did thingy, and
yeah,
just like a
exactly,
little stroll down memory lane. And it's basically giving
exactly.
me an idea of what I'm going to watch when we stop recording when I fire up the TNA Plus app. So, how's that for a cheap plug there, Connor? You normally
Hey,
get
you
them
did
in.
the.
I got it in
I was
before
gonna
you.
say you did the plug before me. Well done.
I know, thank you. So, but yeah, no, to be fair, the TNA Plus app, the rebranded thing is ridiculously good and has got virtually everything on there.
Yeah,
So I am going to be watching a lot of X Division stuff this evening after this recording. That sounds like a canned advertisement thing. It is actually not. I am going to happily go and watch some X Division matches on there, especially since
oh yeah.
you've mentioned about Jerry Lynn, and it's going to. I don't actually. I'm not just going to watch the X Division Jerry Lynn stuff. I'm going to watch his retirement match with Rob Van Dam from Hardcore Justice because that was great.
That was great.
Yeah,
We could do a Rushmore of matches too, man.
yeah. But that'd be so difficult because, well, like
That's the point.
you could go right. Well, there's 20 Kurt Angle matches that could be in the discussion.
Oh, I reckon
There's
if we do, a little bit of a producer talk here for the people who are listening. We could if we do. I say if we do that,
professionals.
yes, we do the Mount Rushmore of matches.
Yeah.
Somebody can't be in more than one match.
Okay.
Because then you
Okay.
can't have, AJ versus Kurt's best out of three from
I
this
mean,
show and then have the original, the X Division triple threat because
are we going to do
AJ's in
Mount
both.
Rushmores of match types? Because there's
No.
things like the Lethal Lockdown, the King of the Mountain, the Ultimate X. There's the Monsters Ball stuff that all originated from TNA. And we could say, right, if we're going to go for a Monsters Ball, who would you associate? Obviously, it's going to be like Abyss, and Kurt Angle for that somersault that time.
Ron Jeremy.
Steve just had monstrous balls.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, the thing is,
so you were hinting at it.
I understand we could.
Yeah.
We could do the the Rushmore match types, but in my opinion, there's only one that should be on there, and it takes up 5 heads instead of 4 because it was that impactful. Each word deserves a place, and that's Judy Bagwell on a pole. So,
bro,
it doesn't matter, bro. It don't matter what match type. You can have your rumbles, you can have your lumberjacks, you can have your monsters balls, you can have your any X division match. If Judy Bagwell's not on a pole, I don't want
it. That's the only way
my
anyone wants Judy Bagwell.
You're damn right.
Judy. And on that magical note, we're going to throw to a classic from the Vault interview with Sean Waltman, X-Pac. We've got others. We weren't even going to go for X-Pac. Originally, we were going to throw a Chris Sabin interview in here when we were planning the episode. But I like X-Pac,
yeah, we just
so
kind
we're
of
putting
go
him
with
on.
the flow.
So here we go. That's just the way it's gone. So here's something from almost a decade ago where I sat in a dingy gym in Wales with X-Pac. Enjoy.
Obviously, thank you for joining us. You're one of the biggest names in pro wrestling history. What brings you to the UK?
Oh, come on. You already know what brings me to the UK, man.
No.
The best wrestling, I find it to be, overall, pretty much the best wrestling going right now. Japan's really hot again, New Japan, and that, in the States, the business is healthy as well. Some people might not care for the current WWE product or whatever. Mexico's doing well, and the UK is doing just as good as any place in the world. And I've been coming here since '93, and the people are they've always been such just really passionate fans. It's a pretty big deal to me. I love that shit.
Going from there, you were a major part of the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, both in WCW and WWF as part of both the NWO and DX. What was your favourite period in there for yourself, personally?
They kind of go together to me, Attitude Era, but kind of started with us in NWO. When we started doing more reality-based, storyline, if you want to call it that. We never called it storylines. These are all newer terms in the business,
Yeah.
They're angles, we used to call it, But when the angles weren't all cartoony and shit, that gave, Hunter and Sean it gave them the ammunition to go to Vince and go, we're getting our fucking asses kicked. And it's because they're doing shit that's real, and we're doing this fucking cartoon shit. So, that started like that. But it, to answer your question in a roundabout fucking way, the best it was DX by far. And that takes nothing away from NWO at all, because none of it wouldn't have happened. None of it would have happened if it wasn't for NWO.
So you've held numerous titles across numerous promotions, including WCW, WWF, TNA. Obviously, you were X Division champion, Cruiserweight champion, Light Heavyweight champion, and more. What title victory meant the most to you?
Wow. I've never been real fancy on, you know, it's a lot of extra weight to carry in your bag. I guess, you know, I'm going to have to go with my tag team title victories with Kane. One versus Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart, and one against APA. Loved them both. I loved teaming with Kane. It was such a cool dynamic.
It was all the voice box stuff was brilliant as well.
You know, that was just shit we made up. That wasn't all like storyline, like everything written and overproduced like it is now. Like they give us a little bit of a direction, and that's shit we just did ourselves. A lot of that, you know.
You faced pretty much every major name of the 90s. Who was your favourite person to work with?
Ooh, man, don't ask me like that. You know how many great guys there were? It was just insane, the talent. Like, man, let's just wait. I tell you what, on a regular basis, I used to kill it with Rock.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Yes, and you know, and whenever I mess with my friends, you know, any one of them, we always killed it. Always. Sean, Hunter, Kev, Scott. Get us all in a match together, like the Action Zone tag match. Hunter wasn't in it, but the rest of the four of us were. I dare you to find a better fucking tag match than that.
Obviously, speaking of your friends, Scott Hall went into the WWE Hall of Fame last year. Kevin Nash is highly rumoured for this year.
Yeah.
HBK's already in. Are we going to see X-Pac in the 2016 Hall of Fame?
I don't know. Oh, shit.
Is it something that you'd like? Or?
Well, of course. Actually, we were the backup plan for the Hall of Fame, and when was it? When was it in New York? When Cena beat Rock?
It was 28.
Yeah, we were the backup contingency plan if they couldn't get Bruno. With DX was going to go in the Hall of Fame.
So just hope for DX this year.
I don't know, man. I just there's no rush. Look, man. Here's the thing. Think about all the greats, right? And especially all the dead ones.
Yeah.
All right, and they only put like one posthumous, you know, induction a year. It's going to be 100 fucking years before all the dead people that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame get in at this rate. You know, like I think they need to add more.
Yeah.
Of you know, our friends that are gone. You know, but not to veer off subject like I always do, but you know, there's just so many people I think that are ahead of me in line. I'm okay with waiting. I'm healthy now. I'm not fucking gonna fall out the deep end or overdose on drugs. Barring some unfortunate incident, I'm gonna be around for a while.
As one of the best cruiserweights in wrestling history, do you think that the WWE suffers from the lack of a cruiserweight or light heavyweight division?
No. It wouldn't be it would be a good thing if they treated it right. But if they're not going to fucking do it right, they're just going to use them as jobbers for the, you know, for who they consider their main talent. I say, whatever. But I just think that they shouldn't be so rigid-minded when they're looking for stars. You know, I mean, there are so many great guys out there that are smaller. I used to be the smallest guy in wrestling, man. I'm a pretty big guy compared to, you know, a lot of the guys you see now.